Okay, we all know how challenging parenting can be sometimes, and often you can butt heads with your spouse on parenting styles and how to parent. So what do you do when you and your partner, your spouse, disagree on parenting styles, and maybe your spouse isn't following conscious parenting or positive parenting like you? Hey everyone, welcome to Mom for Every Season, helping you live your most heart-centered and empowered life. So where I share all things conscious parenting, mindful motherhood, and intentional living. So if any of that resonates with you, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Yes, often it can come up quite a bit. You can start fighting about parenting styles or how you parent or what you agree on discipline and all of that stuff. So what I'm going to share with you obviously is not going to help if you have a spouse that's abusive. If that is the case, then you definitely need to get professional help or go see counseling. But these tips have more or less helped me, because at the end of the day, you cannot change your partner as much as you would like. You can't change anyone. You can't change a person. You cannot change how they show up or how they interact with other people. You cannot change them. It has to be up to them, but you can gain a better and a more deeper understanding of where they're coming from. Number one is just really getting down to the deeper roots and the foundations of all of it, because the thing that you have to kind of keep in mind with any type of relationship, whether that's marriage or parenting or friendships, every person comes to that relationship with their own, past, their own triggers, their own unconscious wiring that, obviously how your partner was raised is going to come into play in how they parent. So just kind of getting a deeper understanding of, where they are coming from. And a lot of times that is unconscious. Like, we don't think about certain things or certain ways that we react. It's just sometimes the way our brain is wired. That's why, when you are trying to work on not yelling at your kids, sometimes you just react and you don't even think about it. But that's because it's an unconscious wiring in your brain that you have to work on. You can't change that about them. They have to be able to change it themselves. So a lot of that comes down to, and this is going to come up quite a bit, is communication. So asking your partner, how they were raised, like what their mom and dad were like did they do certain things, or what triggers him or her, all of these questions are important to ask, and it will help you gain a better understanding and a better clarity of how they parent and why they do the certain things that they do. Okay, number two, I'm going to continue on with communication, because we all know how important communication is in a marriage and in a relationship in general. And it really comes down to having those hard conversations, really being, vulnerable about, your own feelings and how you want to show up as a parent as well. Two, can help them understand your side of it. Sharing with your partner the reason why you want to be a more conscious parent or a positive discipline, all of that. What are your reasonings and what are your whys on what your parenting values are and kind of where you're coming from. So sitting down, having a conversation, getting their side and how they were raised. So, you can ask your spouse questions like, okay, if you are on your deathbed, what would you want your children to say about you as a parent? What are, your values? What are the characteristics that you want to show up as? All of those types of things will matter in that conversation and will obviously matter in how you both parent. And you may come to terms that you both have different values when it comes to parenting. One parent may value being respected more than another parent, or one parent may value being patient over the other parent. You can't move forward until you communicate and have those hard conversations and being really open. And this also goes for your own boundaries in parenting too, because you can bring up to your partner, okay, these, are definitely unacceptable in how we parent. And just drawing the sand, or drawing the line in the sand and saying, okay, we're not going to spank, we're not going to do this, whatever boundary you want to put up, but and just explain to them why. You can share research with them. You can share your own feelings and just say that this is very important to me, that we do not do this. Again, just talking with them about your own feelings and your own, parenting vision. Communication is key. Number 3, putting your marriage first. With anything, whether it's fighting about parenting styles or anything else, trying to put your marriage first or your relationship first, because you can get caught up in, wanting to be right and winning the fight, or again, those like butting heads or power struggles. I always ask myself in like kind of the heat of the moment, again, taking like a deep breath if you need, but then does this matter more than my marriage right now? Is this right for my marriage? I always kind of envision, it's kind of sounds weird, but just stay with me here, but I envision our marriage as kind of its own entity where it's like this living, breathing thing. And I mean, there's certain things that are going to deplete the marriage entity, and there's things that are going to destroy it or crack it and all of that. So when I come, like if we're having an argument, I kind of always take a step back and I think of it as, okay, is this going to harm this marriage, like living, breathing thing? Or, is this the right thing? I can kind of step outside of myself, because of course, when you're in a power struggle or you're fighting, you're kind of, I want to be right. This is about me. You can get very like ego centered. But if you can step outside yourself and view your marriage or your relationship as a separate entity, what's going to move our marriage forward, or what's going to expand our marriage, what's going to help us grow. I hope that makes sense. And of course, you never want to fight in front of your children. It's okay, obviously, to see like conflict. It's important for kids to see conflict and resolution and all of that. But if you do have a very heated debate, taking it, after their kids are in bed or when they're not around is super important for kids not to see parents fighting. That is something that I brought up like a long time in our marriage. I was like, we are not going to fight in front of our kids. And that is very important to me. So that's a boundary I set up a long time ago. It matters more, to your marriage and your relationship than it does to be right, because you want to be a team as parents and as spouses, and you want to be unified front for your children. So that's why it's so important to do all like the basic and the foundational work first, so that you don't fight in front of your children. Okay. Number 4 kind of is a little weird, but stick with me, okay? Hopefully it will make sense. And it kind of is similar to number 1, because how your spouse was raised is going to come into play again. But in the moment, like for instance, when maybe I don't agree with my husband's discipline, or maybe he's not necessarily taking the conscious parenting route, I almost view him like his childlike self. And that, always opens up a different perspective, because he's going to laugh at me at this. I've actually never told him this, but I actually just think of him as his whatever toddler self, or 6 or 7 years old, and just thinking about how maybe he was disciplined, and then just having a better understanding, empathizing with that, and just knowing that that's kind of just how he's wired, and that's okay, and I can't change that. Only he can. And it's so hard, because my generation, the generation before, hundreds and hundreds of years, at one point spanking was okay, but now obviously there's research, and we've come a long way from that. And we know that there's no benefits to spanking a child, except for in the moment that maybe they will be fearful and obedient, right? But when you think of at the time, our parents raised us the best way that they knew how, right? I think they've done so much more research on emotional intelligence and conscious parenting, all of that, positive discipline. So now we kind of know more, so we can do better. And your partner and even you are going to make mistakes along the whole parenting journey, whether you are conscious parenting, using positive discipline. There are going to be moments when you aren't at your best, and that goes along for the same for your spouse. So just understanding and forgiving them too when they make mistakes. Also realizing that certain other things come into play, like how well have they slept? Have they been taking care of themselves? All of that also comes into play, because, if they haven't had a lot of sleep, then maybe they are more apt to be impatient or, snappy or whatever, right? Like we're always, if we're hungry or not taking care of ourselves or not sleeping, we're not going to show up as our best self for our children. Number 5 is modeling. And the more that you practice conscious parenting and positive parenting, the better you will get. And your partner can see that as well. And they're going to see that maybe you're taking more deep breaths before you react, or saying certain phrases instead of yelling at the kids. Like they're going to see all of that as well. So the best thing you can do at the end of the day is just to model it. I tend to look up tons of different respectful parenting phrases, or just different ways of handling temper tantrums or challenging behaviors. So whereas I don't think my husband looks at anything parenting, which is okay, like that's his choice, but he's also going to benefit from what I do myself. So the research that I do and all the work that you are doing in your parenting, it could potentially rub off onto your spouse as well. So just modeling it, showing up how you are, and just trusting the fact that all of your own behaviors and unconscious wiring and all of that, like the more that you do it and the more that you practice it, the greater potential that it could, rub off onto your partner as well. And number 6 is just kind of trusting the whole process. And I'm a firm believer that I believe that we choose our parents, and your children have chosen you to be their mom and your partner to be a parent as well. So, we're all here, we signed up for this, grand thing called life, and we're all here to learn our own lessons. And I know in the past, I used to kind of get hung up on being so worried that I'm screwing up my children, or maybe my husband will screw up our children, but just knowing and trusting the fact that they signed up for us to be their parents, and they have their own lessons to learn and their own, evolution of their own soul or whatever. And that obviously involves the parenting style that your partner is. So just trusting that everything will all work out at the end of the day. So it's almost like letting go of a little bit of control as well can help kind of become a better team with your partner and a unified parenting team. I would love to know in the comments down below, what do you and your spouse tend to butt heads about when it comes to parenting? Is it temper tantrums or maybe timeouts? And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, and you can check out these videos here for further conscious parenting or intentional living videos. And of course, if you are brand new, I would love for you to stick around and hit that subscribe button. And that is it for now. Bye for now.